Commander Jake Morris stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Horizon. His eyes were fixed on the holographic display in front of him. The alien creatures on the screen looked angry, very angry. Jake knew something had gone terribly wrong with the meeting. "Sir, they are charging their weapons," Lieutenant Amy Peterson said from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. Her voice was tight with worry. Jake rubbed his face with both hands. He tried to remember what had just happened in the last 10 minutes. The meeting had seemed simple enough at first. Earth wanted to use the trade routes that passed through Sector 7. The aliens from the Velkaran Consortium wanted something in return. Earth's diplomats thought they wanted a tax or fee. They were wrong. The translation computer had made a big mistake. What Earth offered as a normal business deal had been understood as an insult. Earth's message basically said that humans thought they were better than the Velkarans. Then things got even worse. Ambassador Helen Price had smiled at the aliens. She held out her hand for a handshake. This was a friendly gesture on Earth, but to the Velkarans, showing teeth was a threat. Holding out a hand meant you were ready to attack. "Ma'am, please step back from the screen," Jake had said, but it was too late. The lead Velkaran diplomat was tall, with 4 arms and skin that looked like purple crystal. The creature had screamed something loud and sharp. The computer translated the words. "Your species dares to show weapons at the consortium. This means war." Now 3 Velkaran warships were moving around the horizon. They were getting into attack positions. The Horizon was just a diplomatic ship. It had only light defenses. It was not built for fighting. "Get me a connection to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Make it priority level." "Channel is open, sir," Lieutenant Chris Baker announced. He worked at the communications station. Admiral Patricia Hayes appeared on the screen. She was back on Earth. Her face showed she understood how serious this was. "Commander Morris, we can see what is happening. The Velkarans have just announced war against humanity. They sent the message across every major communication channel in the galaxy." Jake felt his stomach twist into a knot. "Admiral, this was all a mistake. The translation computer got it wrong." "I know, Commander," Patricia interrupted him, "but the Velkarans do not care about that. They have already called their friends. We are looking at maybe 17 different alien species. They are all getting ready to attack Earth." Amy looked up from her station. Her face had gone pale. "Sir, we have a new ship approaching." "It is coming from the north." "It is not Velkaran," Jake frowned. "Put it on screen." The image showed a different kind of alien. This one looked like a reptile. It had deep amber-colored eyes and scales that shined with different colors like oil on water. The creature seemed amused by the situation. "Human vessel, this is Trade Captain Zek of the independent freighter Starwind. I have been listening to the diplomatic channel. You have really done it now." "Done what?" Helen asked. She stepped forward even though she had caused the problem earlier. Zek's mouth opened in what was clearly a smile. His teeth were very sharp. "You have just declared war on the Velkaran Consortium. Do you understand what you have done?" "It was an accident," Jake said firmly. "A mistake in translation." "Oh, I believe you," Zek replied. His voice sounded like hissing. "But here is the problem. The Velkarans are going to attack you with everything they have. When word spreads about how you insulted them, other species will want to test you too. You are new to space. Everyone wants to see if you are strong or weak." "We just want peace," Helen insisted. Zek laughed. The sound made the speakers crackle with static. "Then you came to the wrong galaxy, Ambassador. Let me give you some advice for free. The Velkarans respect only one thing, strength. If you surrender now, you will become their servants within a month. If you fight back and lose, they will destroy you. But if you fight back and win, we will be at war with 17 species," Amy finished his sentence. "Exactly right," Zek said. "But you will also earn respect. In this galaxy, respect means you get to survive. Good luck, humans. I will be watching with great interest." The transmission ended. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone was thinking about what they had just heard. Jake looked at his crew. Then he looked at the ambassador. Finally, he looked at the tactical display. It showed the Velkaran ships getting closer. He thought about Earth. He thought about the 4 billion people who lived there. They had no idea their planet had just been pulled into a space war. "Amy, what weapons do we have?" he asked quietly. 2 plasma cannons, standard shields, and 1 missile bay with 12 warheads, she replied. "Against 3 Velkaran cruisers, we would last maybe 4 minutes in a fight." "Then we better make those 4 minutes count," Jake said. "Chris, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we are not going to back down. If the galaxy wants to see what humans are made of, we will show them. Admiral Hayes nodded on the screen. Her face became hard and determined. Confirmed, Commander. Earth Command is getting the defense fleet ready. Hold your position there. Help is coming. Understood, Admiral, Jake replied. Horizon out. When the channel closed, he turned to his crew. Everyone to battle stations. Today we find out if humanity has what it takes to survive in this galaxy. Amy, target their lead ship's weapon systems. Chris, prepare to send a message on all frequencies. Helen, you should hold on to something solid. The ambassador nodded. She grabbed a nearby railing with both hands. Commander, I am sorry this happened. Jake managed a small smile, though it was not happy. Do not be sorry, ma'am. Every species probably goes through something like this. We just get to be the first humans who show them that we do not scare easily. The Velcaran ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot toward the horizon. The bridge lit up with red warning lights. Alarms started ringing everywhere. The war had started. Humanity was about to learn a very important lesson about the galaxy. Sometimes the only way to get peace is to prove you are too dangerous to fight. The ship shook as the first weapons hit their shields. Amy's fingers flew across her controls. Shields at 70%. Returning fire. The Horizon's plasma cannons fired back. The shots hit one of the Velcaran ships on its side. It was not enough to destroy it, but it got their attention. They are not expecting us to fight back, Chris observed. Good, Jake said. Let us keep surprising them. Helm, bring us around. Put that asteroid field between us and them. The pilot nodded and turned the ship hard to the left. The Horizon moved toward a cluster of floating rocks in space. Sir, what are you planning? Amy asked. Jake looked at the asteroids on the display. We still have those mining charges we picked up at the last station, right? Yes, sir, Amy said. Her eyes went wide as she understood. You want to turn the asteroid field into a trap? Exactly, Jake confirmed. We cannot beat them in a straight fight, but we can be smarter than them. Launch all the mining charges. Set them to remote detonation. Then we lead those Velcaran ships right through the middle. It was a desperate plan, but desperate times called for desperate measures. As the Horizon dove into the asteroid field with 3 enemy warships following close behind, Jake knew one thing for certain. The galaxy had just learned that humans were not going to be easy prey. Whether that would save Earth or doom it, only time would tell. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Earth. Captain Jake Morris stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned warship Defiant. He watched his crew run final systems checks on all the equipment. The ship was beautiful. It combined human creativity with alien technology that Earth had acquired through trade agreements with neutral species. Captain, we are receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Hayes. Communications Officer Nicole Harper reported from her station. Jake nodded to her. Put it through on the main screen. Admiral Patricia Hayes appeared on the view screen. Her expression was serious and grave. Captain Morris, we have a serious situation developing. The Andraxian Collective has issued an ultimatum to Earth. We must submit to their protection or face military consequences. They are claiming that Earth's continued independence destabilizes the entire region. Protection? Jake said the word like it tasted bad in his mouth. You mean they want to make us their vassals? Exactly right, Patricia confirmed. They are giving us 72 hours to respond to their demands. Our intelligence suggests they are already positioning a large fleet at our border. How many ships are we talking about? At least 90 ships, possibly more than that, Patricia said. Her voice was steady but concerned. Jake, this is much bigger than the Velcaran engagement was. The Andraxians are a major power in the galaxy. If we fight them and lose, Earth could be occupied by their forces. If we submit to them, we become subordinate. Everything we have fought for becomes meaningless. Jake looked around at his bridge crew. He saw determination in all their faces. There is a third option, Admiral. I am listening. We win the fight. Patricia allowed herself a slight smile. That is exactly why I am sending you to Nexus Prime with Ambassador Price. Some of the neutral species are concerned about Andraxian expansion. If we can build a coalition of concerned parties, we turn this from Earth versus the Andraxians into a broader question about galactic sovereignty. Jake finished her thought. That is smart thinking. You depart in 2 hours, Patricia ordered. And Jake? Be very careful out there. The Andraxians have agents and spies everywhere. At Nexus Prime, Helen Price was already working hard to lay the groundwork. She had spent months building relationships with various delegations. Now it was time to call in those favors and see who would stand with Earth. In a private conference room, she met with representatives from 6 species. All of them had expressed concerns about Andraxian expansion in recent months. The Andraxians claim they are bringing order to the galaxy, Helen said. She stood before the assembled delegates with confidence. But what they are really doing is building an empire. Earth is just the beginning of their plans. If we fall to them, who will be next on their list? A Corvan delegate named Scree clicked his mandibles together thoughtfully. You speak the truth, Ambassador. But the Andraxians are very powerful. Opposing them directly carries great risk for all of us. So does allowing them to expand without any check on their power. Captain Lisa Grant interjected. She had been invited to provide a military perspective on the situation. 6 months ago, everyone in the galaxy thought Earth would be easy prey for the Velkarans. We proved them all wrong. We are not asking anyone here to fight our battles for us. We are asking you to stand with us for an important principle, the principle that might does not make right. A Selvian diplomat named Kara ruffled her feathers in what might have been agreement. Your species has an interesting effect on galactic politics, Captain. You reject traditions that have stood firm for thousands of years. Because those traditions are wrong. Helen said firmly, all sapient beings have the right to determine their own future. That should not be considered a radical concept. And yet it is exactly that, Scree observed quietly. Which is why this meeting is very dangerous for all of us who are here. The door suddenly burst open with great force. Station security rushed into the room. They were led by an Andraxian officer who looked very official. This meeting is illegal under Nexus Prime neutrality protocols, the officer announced loudly. You are plotting military action against a member species of the galactic community. Helen stood her ground and did not back down. We are discussing defensive cooperation. That is well within our rights under galactic law. The Andraxian Collective has declared your species a threat to regional stability, the officer countered. Your diplomatic credentials are hereby revoked. You will be detained here pending extradition to Andraxian space. Jake had been waiting outside the conference room with armed human marines. He chose that exact moment to enter. I do not think that is going to happen. The standoff lasted for several tense moments. Nobody moved or spoke. Then Speaker Venn arrived with more station security following behind him. Stand down, all of you. This is neutral territory. I will maintain that neutrality by force if necessary. Officer, the ambassador's credentials are valid until I personally say otherwise. Captain Morris, have your Marines lower their weapons immediately. Everyone needs to leave this conference room right now. In Venn's private office later, the Alterian leader looked very weary and tired. Ambassador Price, you are forcing me into a very difficult position with your actions. I am sorry, Speaker Venn, Helen said with genuine sincerity. But Earth will not submit to Andraxian domination. We cannot and we will not. I understand your position, Venn replied carefully. Privately, I admire your courage and your stance. But publicly, I must maintain strict neutrality on this station. However, he paused meaningfully and looked at her directly. I cannot control what individual species choose to do in their own sovereign space. Helen caught the subtle implication of his words. You are saying that if certain species wanted to allow Earthships to use their territory for defensive purposes, that would be their own business. Exactly correct, Venn confirmed with a slight nod. And if those same species wanted to share intelligence information about Andraxian fleet movements, well, the galaxy is very vast. It is full of independent merchants who have loose tongues. Over the next 48 hours, Helen and Jake worked frantically to build their coalition of support. The Corvan were worried about Andraxian expansion toward their own borders. They agreed to provide safe refuge for Earthships. They also agreed to share their sensor data. The Selvians valued freedom of navigation above most things. They committed to keeping the trade routes open no matter what happened. The Thurians remembered how the Valiant had helped the merchant ship Prosperity. They offered medical and logistical support to Earth. It was not a formal military alliance like Earth had hoped for. But it was enough to give Earth real fighting options against the Andraxians. Back in Earth space, Admiral Patricia Hayes assembled the entire defense fleet. Along with the new Defiant, Earth now had the destroyers Valiant and Resolute. There were also 6 frigates and 24 corvettes. The orbital platforms had been upgraded. The civilian volunteer force from the Battle of Earth was ready again. We are still badly outnumbered at least 3-1, General Nathan Cross observed during the command briefing. He studied the tactical displays with a critical eye. Then we use the exact same tactics that worked so well against the Velkarins, Patricia said with determination. We hit hard and fade away fast. We use the terrain to our advantage. We make them pay dearly for every single inch of space they try to take. With one important difference this time, added Captain Ryan Foster. He now commanded the destroyer Resolute. We have allies now. Maybe they are not ones who will fight directly alongside us, but they are ones who will make the Andraxians worry constantly about what is happening behind their backs. The Andraxian fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly on schedule. It was commanded by War Marshal Drex. He was a veteran commander of a dozen successful campaigns across the galaxy. Send the final ultimatum to the humans, Drex ordered from his flagship. The massive battleship was called Dominion. It was one of the largest warships in the known galaxy. Humanity has exactly 1 hour to accept Andraxian protection or face the full consequences of their defiance. On the Defiant, Jake read the incoming message carefully. Then he opened a communication channel that broadcast across all frequencies in the system. War Marshal Drex, this is Captain Jake Morris of the Earth Defense Fleet. We reject your ultimatum completely. Earth will remain free and independent. If you wish to challenge that statement, you will find that we are ready for you. Drex's face appeared on the view screen. His reptilian features were twisted in what might have been amusement or might have been contempt. You are brave, I will grant you that much. But bravery without wisdom is nothing more than suicide. You cannot possibly win this fight against us. We do not have to win, Jake replied calmly. We just have to make you lose more than you are willing to pay for victory. So ask yourself this question, War Marshal. Is conquering Earth really worth the cost you will have to pay? For a long moment, Drex hesitated. He said nothing. His intelligence reports had been very clear and detailed about what had happened to the Velkarin fleet. They had been confident too, and there were troubling reports coming in. Other species were mobilizing military forces near Andraxian space. Nothing overtly threatening yet, but it was definitely concerning. 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Earth. The galactic information networks were buzzing with activity like never before. In bars, trading posts, and diplomatic halls across dozens of worlds, everyone was talking about the same thing. They were talking about the humans. On the space station Nexus Prime, Trade Captain Zek sat in a crowded bar. Nexus Prime was neutral ground where hundreds of different species could meet. Zek was listening to the gossip around him with quiet amusement. I heard they turned their cargo ships into warships, a Thurian merchant was saying. His tentacles waved around excitedly as he talked. Can you imagine that? Merchants fighting like trained soldiers. I heard they use their own orbital structures as weapons, added a Corvin pilot. His voice clicked and buzzed. They deliberately led the Velkarins into their industrial zones. Then they triggered huge explosions. A Selvian diplomat shook her head. Her feathers ruffled with disbelief. 14 Velkarin ships destroyed. 30 more damaged badly. All this done by a species that has barely been in space for 100 years. It is completely unprecedented. Zek took a long drink from his cup. He smiled to himself. He had predicted the humans might surprise everyone, but even he had not expected them to do this well. Across the station in the diplomatic quarter, Ambassador Helen Price was experiencing the aftermath firsthand. She had been summoned to Nexus Prime for an emergency session of the Galactic Trade Assembly. The reception she got was complicated. Ambassador Price, greeted Speaker Venn. He was an Alterian, a species that held one of the most powerful positions in galactic politics. His manner was dignified and formal. Your presence has been requested by multiple delegations. I am here to explain that Earth seeks only peaceful trade relationships, Helen began. But Venn held up one hand to stop her. That may have been true before, Venn said carefully. But circumstances have changed now. The Velkarin Consortium has formally withdrawn its declaration of war. They have requested mediation. Several of their allied species have chosen to remain neutral rather than join the conflict. More significantly, 17 species have submitted formal requests to open diplomatic relations with Earth. Helen blinked in surprise. 17 species? Strength is the currency of this galaxy, Ambassador, Venn explained. Your species demonstrated great strength. Now everyone wants to know something. Are you a potential ally? Are you a trading partner? Or are you a threat that must be watched closely? In the assembly hall, Helen found herself facing a sea of alien faces. All of them were focused intently on her. A Velkaran delegate stood up. It was not the same one from the disastrous first meeting. This one spoke in carefully measured tones. The translator made his words understandable. The Velkaran Consortium acknowledges that cultural misunderstandings led to unnecessary conflict. We propose an end to hostilities and a formal treaty between our peoples. Helen chose her words very carefully. Earth is willing to negotiate for peace, but we will not accept tributary status. We will not acknowledge that any species is superior to humanity. Murmurs rippled through the assembly like waves. On Earth, such a statement would be normal diplomatic talk. Here in the galaxy, it was revolutionary. It challenged thousands of years of tradition. A delegate from the Andraxian collective stood up next. If humanity rejects tributary relationships, how do you propose to maintain order? The strong must guide the weak. Otherwise, chaos will result. On Earth, we have a saying, Helen replied. She spoke clearly and firmly. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All sapient beings are created equal. We do not accept that strength gives anyone the right to dominate others. We believe in mutual cooperation between equals. The assembly erupted into loud debate. Some species were intrigued by this idea. Others were scandalized. A few were openly hostile to the very concept. Back on Earth, Commander Jake Morris was dealing with a different kind of attention. He had been promoted to captain. He was given command of humanity's first purpose-built warship. It was called the Defiant. The ship was currently under construction in the orbital shipyards. Captain Morris, Admiral Patricia Hayes, said during their meeting, "You are aware that your encounter with the Velkarans has made you something of a celebrity in certain circles, correct?" Jake shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I was just doing my duty, Admiral." "Of course you were," Patricia agreed. "But perception matters greatly in galactic politics. The fact that a single human ship disabled a Velkaran cruiser has become a legend. Some species see you as a hero. Others see you as a dangerous warmonger who likes to fight. What do you need from me, Admiral?" Patricia pulled up a star chart on the display. "We have been receiving visitors. Not all of them are friendly. 3 days ago, a Corvin scout ship entered our solar system. It ran scans of everything and then left without making contact. Yesterday, an Andraxian frigate did the same thing. They are testing us, Jake. They are trying to see if the Battle of Earth was just luck or if humans really are as dangerous as we appeared to be. What is our response to this?" "We continue building our fleet," Patricia said firmly. Her voice was hard as steel. "The Defiant will be the first of 12 new warships. We are also upgrading our orbital defenses. We are establishing listening posts throughout the solar system. Earth will never again be caught unprepared for an attack." "And what about diplomacy?" Patricia smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Ambassador Price is handling the diplomatic side. But between you and me, Jake, diplomacy only works when it is backed by the credible threat of force. You gave us that credibility." Meanwhile, Captain Lisa Grant was on patrol in deep space. She commanded the destroyer Valiant. Her sensor operator suddenly called out, "Contact bearing 270 Mark 15, it is broadcasting a distress signal." "Identify the ship," Lisa ordered. "It is a Thurian merchant vessel. They are reporting engine failure. They are requesting assistance." Lisa frowned and thought about the situation. It could be a trap. Her first officer was Lieutenant Kevin Barnes. He nodded in agreement. It could be a trap. But if it is a legitimate distress call and we ignore it, Earth gets a reputation for abandoning ships in trouble. "You are right about that," Lisa decided. "Helm, close to weapons range, but stay alert. Tactical, keep our shields up and weapons ready. If this is a trap, I want to be ready to fight our way out." As the Valiant got closer, it became clear the distress call was real. The Thurian ship's engine had suffered a catastrophic failure. They were stranded in space with no way to move. "Valiant, this is the merchant ship Prosperity." The captain's voice came through. The communication system translated his words. "We are grateful for your response. We were uncertain if humans would help us after recent events." "Why would we not help you?" Lisa asked. She was genuinely confused. There was a pause before the answer came. "Because we are Thurian. Our government was part of the coalition that supported the Velkaran declaration of war against Earth." Lisa exchanged glances with Kevin. Both of them understood the situation now. "Your government's choices are not your fault, Captain. We are sending over an engineering team right now. We will have you moving again within the hour. I do not know what to say. Thank you, the Thurian captain said. He was clearly surprised by this response. While the Valiant's engineers worked on fixing the Thurian ship, Lisa invited the merchant captain aboard for a meal. The Thurian captain's name was Grell, or at least that is what the translator called him. He was cautious but also curious. I must ask you something, Grell said as they ate in the officers' mess. Why do you help us? Your species is at odds with many powers in the galaxy. Because it is the right thing to do, Lisa replied simply. On Earth we have countless nations, cultures, and belief systems. We have fought terrible wars against each other. But we have learned something important. We are stronger when we help each other. This is true regardless of our differences. Grell's tentacles rippled in a way that suggested deep thought. This philosophy is very unusual. Most species view others as either allies to be exploited or enemies to be dominated. Then most species are missing out on something valuable, Kevin said. Cooperation builds more than conquest ever could. When the repairs were complete and the Thurian ship was ready to depart, Grell sent a final message. Captain Grant, I will share what I have learned here today with my people. Perhaps there are more among the Thurians who will see value in Earth's approach to others. Back on the bridge of the Valiant, Kevin looked at Lisa with a thoughtful expression. Do you think it will make a difference? What we did here? Maybe it will, Lisa said. Or maybe we will just end up fighting everyone in the galaxy. But at least we will be fighting for something that is worth defending. As word of the Valiant's actions spread through the galactic networks, a picture began to form. Added to Earth's defensive victory, people were starting to understand something. Humanity was powerful enough to be dangerous in a fight, but they were also principled enough to be trusted. It was a very rare combination. It was attracting attention from unexpected quarters across the galaxy. In the shadows of galactic politics, powerful forces were already moving and making plans. Some saw humanity as a potential ally against old enemies. Others saw them as a serious threat to the established order. The Emergency Council chamber was deep under the city of Geneva. It was packed with representatives from every major nation on Earth. The holographic display in the center of the room showed a map of space near Earth. Red dots covered the map. Each red dot was an enemy ship. General Nathan Cross stood at the front podium. The harsh blue light from the displays lit up his weathered face. As of 6 this morning, we confirmed that a Velcaran war fleet is approaching. 67 ships total. They range from small frigates to massive dreadnoughts. They will reach Earth orbit in 48 hours. President Linda Martinez leaned forward in her chair. Her hands were folded on the table in front of her. General, what are our chances if we fight them? Nathan did not try to make it sound better than it was. Against a fleet that size, with what we have now, we are looking at heavy losses. They might bombard the planet from orbit, but we do have options to fight back. He gestured with his hand. The display changed to show Earth's defenses. We have 16 orbital defense platforms. We have 32 corvettes, 8 frigates, and 3 destroyers. We also have Commander Morris and the Horizon. They managed to disable 1 Velcaran cruiser before jumping back to Earth space. 1 ship against 3, said Director Carlos Mendoza. He was in charge of Earth Space Command. How did they do that? They were stubborn and they got creative, Nathan replied. Morris used the Horizon's mining charges to make a debris field in space. Then he led the Velcarans through it. The charges exploded remotely. 1 enemy ship was destroyed. 2 others were damaged badly enough that they had to retreat. That still leaves us badly outnumbered, Linda said. Yes, ma'am, Nathan agreed. That is why we are starting Protocol Fortress. Every ship we have, military or civilian, is being armed with weapons. We are calling up all reserves. And we are about to show the Velcarans why attacking Earth is a big mistake. 36 hours later, Captain Ryan Foster stood in a hangar bay. The bay was on the orbital platform called Defiance. In front of him was a group of civilian freighter captains. They had volunteered to turn their cargo ships into warships. I will not lie to you, Ryan said. His voice echoed in the huge hangar. Most of you are flying ships designed to carry cargo, not fight battles. But you are here anyway. That means something important. A grizzled old captain named George Kane raised his hand. What is the plan, Captain? Ryan pulled up a holographic display. It showed the space around Earth. The Velcarans fight in tight groups. That is standard for species that use overlapping shields to protect each other. Our advantage is that we do not fight that way. We are going to spread out all over. We will use hit-and-run tactics. We will make them chase us through Earth's orbital infrastructure. You want us to use the satellites and platforms as cover? Said another captain. Her name was Mary Sullivan. She sounded thoughtful. Exactly right, Ryan confirmed. They will worry about accidentally hitting their own ships. We will not worry about that. This is our home. We know every asteroid, every piece of space junk, every satellite in orbit. We are going to use all of that against them. While the briefing continued, Commander Lisa Grant was on the destroyer Valiant. She was having a similar talk with her crew. They think we are primitive, she told them. She paced back and forth on the bridge. They think because we are new to space warfare, we will be easy to defeat. They are wrong about that. Her tactical officer was Lieutenant Danny Price. He looked up from his console. Commander, we are getting data from the probe network. The Velkaran fleet has stopped their faster-than-light travel. They are at the edge of the solar system. Lisa nodded. How much time do we have? 12 hours at their current speed. Then we have 12 hours to make sure they regret coming here, Lisa said. Danny, I want firing solutions for every direction they might come from. Navigation, plot jump coordinates for hit and fade attacks. Communications link us into the defense network. All across Earth's orbital space, similar preparations were happening. On Platform Sentinel, engineer Tony Wells was making last-minute adjustments to the railgun batteries. On the Corvette Swift, pilot Kelly Jordan was running combat simulations with her squadron. In the asteroid belt, mining captain Frank Harrison was rigging industrial explosives. He planned to turn space rocks into weapons. When the Velkaran fleet finally appeared on long-range sensors, Earth was ready for them. The Velkaran flagship was a massive dreadnought called the Prideful Retribution. It led the formation of ships. The commander was war leader Thex. He looked at the blue planet Earth on his view screen. He felt satisfied. These humans will learn to respect us, Thex said to his bridge crew. After we destroy their orbital infrastructure, they will beg us for mercy. War leader, his sensor operator spoke up. I am detecting many small craft in orbit around the planet. They appear to be cargo vessels. Thex's crystalline face showed confusion. They send merchant ships against us? This is either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, his second-in-command muttered quietly. All ships advance in formation Delta, Thex ordered. Prepare to fire on military targets only. We will show mercy to the merchants. That was his first mistake of the battle. As the Velkaran fleet moved into Earth orbit, the defenders attacked. The cargo ships that Thex had dismissed suddenly revealed hidden weapons. They fired missiles and railgun rounds from unexpected angles. The orbital platforms opened fire with concentrated beams. Their targets were the flanks of the Velkaran formation. The military vessels used short faster-than-light jumps to appear behind the enemy fleet. They hit vulnerable engine sections and then jumped away before the Velkarans could respond. Ambush! Someone shouted on the bridge of the Prideful Retribution. The ship rocked and shook from multiple impacts. Thex gripped his command chair tightly. His confidence disappeared like smoke. Return fire. All weapons fire back. But the humans did not stay in one place long enough to be easy targets. They had split into dozens of small groups. Each group operated on its own. Each one would strike and then fade away before the Velkarans could hit back. It was complete chaos. This was the exact opposite of the organized battle Thex had expected. On the Valiant, Lisa watched her tactical display. She felt fierce satisfaction at what she saw. Danny, mark targets for the platform batteries. Kelly's squadron will push them into the kill zone. Marking targets now, Danny replied. Lisa opened a communication channel to the civilian volunteers. George, Mary, this is Valiant. We need you to make a run past the enemy dreadnought. Get their attention on you. Are you insane? George's voice came back through the speakers. Probably, Lisa admitted, but they will chase you right into Platform Sentinel's firing arc. Trust me on this, there was a pause. Then Mary's voice came through. For Earth. We are going in. The two freighters now had hastily mounted weapons all over them. They charged toward the Prideful Retribution. They fired everything they had. The dreadnought was insulted by such bold action from mere cargo ships. It broke formation to chase after them. Now, Lisa shouted into the communication system. Platform Sentinel's massive railguns fired. They sent projectiles the size of cars into space. The projectiles were moving at incredible speeds. They hit the dreadnought's exposed side. The shields flared bright. They held for just a moment. Then they collapsed completely. The rounds punched through the armor plating. Secondary explosions erupted throughout the Velcaran flagship. Thex watched in horror as his ship's systems failed one after another. Retreat! All ships fall back and retreat, but pulling back turned out to be nearly as dangerous as advancing had been. Human ships harassed the Velcaran fleet every step of the way. They mined the retreat path with explosives. They took shots at damaged vessels. They generally made the retreat a complete nightmare. When the Velcaran fleet finally jumped to faster than light speed to escape, they had lost 14 ships. 30 more had suffered heavy damage. The prideful retribution was so badly damaged it had to be towed away by other ships. On Earth, the emergency council chamber erupted with cheers and applause. General Nathan Cross allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. President Linda Martinez stood up from her chair. Her eyes were bright with emotion. General, what are our losses? 3 orbital platforms damaged but repairable. 5 corvettes destroyed. 7 freighters lost with all hands, Nathan reported. His voice was steady. But Earth still stands, and the galaxy just learned that humans do not go down without a hard fight. What happens now? Carlos asked. Nathan pulled up the tactical display again. It showed new contacts appearing throughout the sector of space. Now we find out how the other species react to a newcomer defeating the Velcaran consortium. This situation could go either way for us. On the horizon, now back in Earth orbit getting repairs, Commander Jake Morris watched the same display. He wondered if they had just won a battle or started something much bigger and more dangerous. 3 years had passed since the Andraxian fleet withdrew from Earth space without firing a shot. The galaxy looked very different now. In the conference hall of Nexus Prime, which had been expanded to hold more attendees, Ambassador Helen Price stood before the largest assembly in recorded galactic history. 3 years ago, my species was threatened with complete extinction, Helen began. Her voice carried clearly across the massive chamber. We were told to submit to the established order or be destroyed. Today we are here to propose something entirely new. We call it the Coalition of Free Worlds. The name had been debated and argued over for many months. Some species had wanted to call it an alliance. Others preferred federation. But coalition had won out in the end. It implied cooperation and mutual support without creating any kind of hierarchy or ranking system. The principles are very simple, Helen continued with confidence. All member species retain complete sovereignty over their own affairs. There are no tribute requirements of any kind. There are no forced military commitments. There are no species considered superior to others. We stand together as equals. We defend each other's fundamental right to self-determination. Speaker Venn had retired from his official position, but he was still very influential in galactic politics. He spoke from his seat in the gallery. Ambassador Price, this is a truly revolutionary proposal. You are asking species to abandon traditions that are thousands of years old. I am asking them to embrace something better than those old traditions, Helen replied firmly. The old order is built entirely on domination. The strong rule over everyone else. The weak must submit to their betters. But that system creates only resentment and rebellion. It breeds conflict. Our coalition offers a real alternative. Cooperation creates a strength that domination could never achieve. A Velcaran delegate stood up from his seat. He was one of the newer generation who had risen to power after the disastrous war with Earth. The Velcaran Consortium wishes to state clearly for the record that we fully support this proposal. Our conflict with humanity taught us a very painful but important lesson. Respect cannot be taken by force. It can only be earned through actions. Similar statements of support came from the Thurians, the Selvians, the Corvin, and about a dozen other species. Not everyone in the galaxy supported the coalition idea. The Andraxians and their closest allies remained firmly opposed to it, but the momentum behind the idea was undeniable and growing stronger. Aboard the flagship Defiant, Admiral Jake Morris watched the proceedings carefully. He had been promoted after his excellent handling of the Andraxian crisis. The Defiant now served as the command ship for Earth's growing defense fleet. Do you think the vote will pass? Asked Captain Lisa Grant. She had transferred to the Defiant to serve as Jake's second in command. It has to pass, Jake replied with certainty. The alternative is another 1,000 years of the strong exploiting the weak across the entire galaxy. We proved there is a better way to organize galactic civilization. At a very significant cost, though, Lisa reminded him gently. Earth's determined defense of its independence had resulted in thousands of casualties. There had been extensive damage to orbital infrastructure. The economic expenditure had been enormous. Freedom always has a cost, Jake said quietly. But it is always worth the price we have to pay. On Earth itself, President Linda Martinez was now in her second term. She had been re-elected in a massive landslide victory. She addressed a joint session of the Global Congress about the historic moment. When we first ventured out into the galaxy, Linda said to the assembled representatives, we expected to find enlightened civilizations. We thought they would be far beyond our primitive ways of warring with each other. Instead, we found the exact same patterns. We found domination and exploitation. These were the same things that humanity has struggled against throughout our entire history. So we did what humans have always done best. We refused to accept that this was the only possible way. She gestured toward the holographic display. It showed the coalition proposal document. 47 species have signed this historic document. 47 species have chosen cooperation over domination. And it all started because one human ship refused to back down when it was threatened by a vastly superior force. In the audience, Commander Ryan Foster sat watching. He now commanded the new battleship Endeavour. Next to him sat Captain George Kane and Captain Mary Sullivan. They were the civilian volunteers who had fought so bravely at the Yao Battle of Earth. They had since been commissioned as full officers in Earth's defense fleet. I never thought a simple cargo hauler like me would end up sitting here, George whispered to his companions. You earned your place here, Ryan whispered back. You all did by your actions. At the massive shipyards orbiting Earth, a whole new generation of vessels was under construction. The coalition members had agreed to share their technology freely. Earth's engineers were now combining human innovation with alien knowledge. They were creating something entirely new. The ships had names like Hope, Unity, and Friendship. The names sent a deliberate message about Earth's true intentions in the galaxy. Chief Engineer Tony Wells supervised the construction of the Hope. It was Earth's first true exploration vessel. It was designed for peaceful discovery rather than warfare. This is what we should have been building from the very beginning, Tony said to his assistant. Engineer Kelly Jordan had transferred from combat duty to help with the peaceful projects. We should be building ships to explore the unknown, not ships designed to fight wars. But we needed the warships first, Kelly pointed out reasonably. Peace requires having the ability to defend it when necessary. That is true enough, Tony agreed with a nod. But now we can finally build for the future we actually want. We do not have to just defend against the threats we fear. On Nexus Prime, as the vote on the coalition proposal got closer, Speaker Venn called a private meeting. He gathered all the major faction leaders together. This vote will fundamentally reshape the entire galaxy, Venn said solemnly to the assembled leaders. Before you cast your final decision, you must understand what you are choosing. The old order provided stability across the galaxy. Yes, that stability came at the cost of freedom for many species, but it was stable. The coalition offers freedom to everyone, but it also brings uncertainty. There is absolutely no guarantee that it will work as intended. The Andraxian representative was a diplomat named Vex. He had replaced the more aggressive, hardline elements after their failed attempt to dominate Earth. The Andraxian Collective has made a decision. We will abstain from this vote. We do not actively support the coalition idea, but we acknowledge a simple reality. The old order is crumbling whether we like it or not. We will not waste our strength opposing something we cannot prevent from happening. It was as close to an endorsement as anyone realistically expected from the proud Andraxians. More importantly, it removed the biggest obstacle to the proposal passing. When the official vote was finally called, the result was overwhelming and decisive. 127 species voted in favor. 43 voted against. 31 chose to abstain. The coalition of free worlds was now official galactic policy. As celebrations erupted all across Nexus Prime, Helen stood together with Jake, Lisa, and General Nathan Cross. Nathan was now Earth's official representative to the coalition military command structure. We actually did it, Helen said. She could hardly believe it was real. Yes, we did, Jake agreed with satisfaction. But this is just the beginning of a long journey. Building the coalition structure is one thing. Making it work properly in practice is going to be something else entirely. Then we had better get to work immediately, Nathan said with his usual pragmatic approach, because every single species that opposed this proposal will be actively looking for ways to prove it fails. Let them try their best, Lisa said with quiet confidence. We did not come this far just to give up now. 6 months after the historic vote, the coalition faced its first real test of its principles. A distress call came from a frontier colony. It was on the very edge of explored space. Pirates had taken advantage of the galactic reorganization. They had attacked and occupied the vulnerable settlement. The colony was Andraxian. In the Coalition Command Center on Nexus Prime, the Council held an emergency debate about their response. If we ignore this situation, the Coalition means absolutely nothing, argued the Corvin representative forcefully. But if we defend an Andraxian colony, we are helping a species whose government opposed our founding, countered a Thurian diplomat with concern. Helen listened carefully to the entire debate. Then she stood up to speak. The Coalition's principles are completely clear on this matter. We defend the right of all peoples to self-determination. This applies regardless of what their government's political positions might be. Those colonists did not choose to be attacked by pirates. They deserve our help just like anyone else would. The vote passed with a strong majority. Admiral Jake Morris led a coalition task force to the distant frontier. The Defiant flew alongside Corvin, Thurian, Selvian, and even Velcarin ships. Together they jumped to the colony's defense as a unified force. The pirates had been expecting no organized response at all.